God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For anyone who has walked through addiction and treatment, rehab, any kind of recovery, or just stood face to face with addiction, you have heard that prayer before. And that prayer was handed to me when I went to treatment back in 1990. I know I've heard it before that, but that's when it really was handed to me. And it's come along with me throughout all the decades. It's come in and out of my life. It's been more prevalent sometimes in my life at different phases and different forms, but it's always been with me. It's always been something that I've carried. And recently, through this journey, it's come back to me stronger than ever, and especially the line of courage. The line of courage to heal, to tell the truth, and to face places within me that I have always ran from. So courage hit me very hard in this prayer, and I'm glad that it came back to me. And over this time, my understanding of addiction has changed, right? It's not the norms that we all think of, drugs, alcohol, porn, the common addictions that people get treated for. And I use the air quotes because those are addictions. But what we're going to discuss today are different forms of addiction as well that people may not think of as an addiction. Could be shame, could be work, could be escape, could just be being silent and becoming an introvert and a loner, right? You can get addicted to so many things. It can be a feeling and emotion that you become addicted to. So before we move into this episode fully, I just want to say if there's anybody out there that is struggling with addiction, facing addiction, if your loved one, your child is, reach out. Get support. You and they are not meant to face it alone and to carry it all on all alone. So please reach out, get support, find the help that you need. This is This Tree and Me. I am Cory J. Riggs. Today is episode 11, Addiction and Its Many Faces. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to This Tree and Me. I'm Cory J. Riggs. Tonight's episode is on addiction and its many faces. This episode hits home for me in so many different ways and has manifested so differently throughout my life in ways that I did not recognize at the time. But now that I'm taking the time to study and learn and listen to myself as well as others, and just a self-discovery, I see how addiction has many different faces and had many different faces for me. And again, I just want to emphasize a couple things. One, if you or anybody you know is struggling with any form of addiction, and primarily the ones that harm themselves or others, seek help, reach out. Nobody needs to go through life dealing with unhealthy addictions. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. I will help in any way I can. I will find the resources. I know a lot of people in that industry, and I can get the help that people need, or I can at least point you in the right direction or a helping direction. If not me, somebody. Okay, so just want to make that very clear. Also, you'll see a different setup a little bit. I'm doing this in a different space now, and it seems to be working out. I like how the table sits, things like that. And the other one is you'll see me glancing down from time to time because I do have more of a script type, bullet point presentation type reminder for me. That's a little bit more visual, so I will be looking down from time to time. So I just want to bring that out to be transparent. I hope to get much better at this, and I believe I have and will continue to. So thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate you all. So addiction isn't just the commons. And again, this is my experiences and my beliefs. So drugs, alcohol, porn, now social media, right? That's a common. There's probably a few others that I'm missing, but those are the big ones. And, some people talk about food. I definitely believe in that, especially with the food journey that I have been on my entire life. And in one particular part of my life, food was a massive drug for me. And I've said it many times, I don't know exactly what I weighed, y'all. If it wasn't 400, it was close. I was very, very big. And I was right in the heart of my marriage with a few children at that time. And life was just getting the better of me. Now, I was happy. You would think I was a happy dude at that time. But it was definitely the food drug that was making that appear so. Maybe not at home. That's another story, and we'll get to all that. The other thing in this story that really hits home with me so deeply is how hard an addiction is to get out of. It's not easy by any stretch of the means. I've gotten out of a few of them, drugs and alcohol in one time in my life, food at a few times in my life, anger, truly one time in my life now. And it hits home with me. And it's a cause that I believe strongly in, to help people get out of their addictions. So I just want to talk you through how addiction showed up in my life, and before I even ever picked up a drink or a drug, and how the early patterns of addiction shaped into everything that followed. And I go there from, as we've discussed before, and it's not ever going to be in great detail, but I had my first traumatic life event when I was 11. And from that time until my grandfather died, which was when I was 15, I was a freshman in high school. It was right at the very end of my freshman year. I don't have a distinct definition of what you would call addiction, but as I just stated, it shaped my addictions to come. In that time frame, I was still young, I was still athletic, I was playing all sports, I was doing those kinds of things. Was I eating and exercising properly as an athlete? No. Did I start stealing little things around the house? Or I remember one time, wow, this just hit me all. I've got caught stealing a candy bar at the local grocery store, and they made me take it back up and apologize and all that kind of stuff because they saw me eating it at home. Wow, I forgot about that. It's amazing how these things come when you start doing this work. But anyhow, that little stuff, lying, cheating at school, kind of just being a little shit around the playground and pushing, bullying, pushing people around, taking advantage of the weaker than you. Started hanging out with different people that also like doing things like that. Just little things started to curve and shape who I was going to become. And during that time, I was never a great student, but I wasn't a bad student, and I started becoming a very bad student. School did not have a particular joy in me. It was something I needed to do, and I knew that, but it was also, I know I need to do that, and I know it's good for me, so I'm not going to, because the fear inside, hiding, pretending to be something I'm not, stuffing those emotions down, things like that. All that was really starting to develop and come through in that time of my life. A few little girlfriends here and there, but just awkwardness and things like that. It was really a formative time of my ego and the parts within me that were going to start protecting me as I got older, and I really started having life hit me harder to where I needed to hide myself even deeper. Or I felt, the parts of me, the ego of me, protecting me. I wasn't ready to deal with that part of life. I didn't speak of that event to anybody. Nobody knew about it until later in life, which we will get to. So it was just me on my own. And how do I deal with it? But I wasn't using yet. But the addiction was already living inside of me. It wasn't recognized. It was unnamed, but it was very, very real. So let's jump to my grandfather's death. I had 3 kings in my life. One I've lost already. The second, my father, in my opinion, was non-existent. He was there, and he loved the way he loved. He wasn't mean. He wasn't nasty, anything like that to me. It wasn't emotional love. It wasn't hugs and kisses and I love you and you're great and you're doing your best. And it was, here's your house, here's your clothes, here's your food. I'll be at all your baseball, football games, all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't verbalized. It just wasn't shown in that aspect, right? And I just didn't recognize that at that time. I didn't feel it. Didn't know how to, because love, in the way that I understood it, was completely destroyed prior to that. Then my third king dies, my grandfather. And my dad was traveling. He was a traveling salesman. He was only home on the weekends. He was really starting to get into that part of his life as far as his career. He didn't do it as much as when I was younger, but at this time, this is when he started a new career and he was really he was good at it. So I didn't see him except for on the weekends for the most part. So I say that because when my grandfather died, then I felt alone. Like I had no man in my life. No man to look up to, no man to be strong and brave and protect me. And that's when it turned into addiction. My sophomore year, I did not play football for the first time in my life. Again, just understand I'm from a small community where athletes, you had the cliques, especially back in the 80s, right? You had the cliques, athletes, jocks, whatever you want to call them, the nerds, this, right? And I've always been one of the athletes, one of the guys who played all the sports. So I quit playing football. Fear of a lot of different things. Not of the contact, not of this. few other things, but just a fear inside of me, like, nope, I'm not doing this. My dad did not like that and made me get a job. So I got a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken. And there were some guys there that smoked weed, marijuana, but I didn't partake with them. I just heard them talking about it and different things. Well, then I end up hanging out with some college basketball players. Again, I was 15, 16 at this time. And through them, I found marijuana. Drinking is already kind of... And where I grew up, drinking was a norm. It was okay. It was a social interaction of the German people. And when you were young, you could drink. Now, not going overboard and all that, but I just want you to understand like where I'm from. So I was already drinking at this time, going out on the weekends, partying with the boys and the girls and going to parties at the park and all that kind of stuff. And then I found marijuana. And there I went. And so I ended up skipping work one night, going out, let's not go to work. I'm going to skip it. Let's go party. Well, they ended up calling my house. Obviously no cell phones at the day. Mom or dad answer. Oh, he's not at work? We'll go find him. They hunted me down. They found me. They found the weed in a can of Copenhagen that I was hiding it in. And that was the first knowledge in my part to where I knew they weren't going to make it public. They weren't going to make me go to treatment. They weren't going to make me go to fourth floor, which is what we call, it was Hadley. It was on the fourth floor of a hospital there. It was the mental ward where you went when you were a troubled kid and you didn't want to be a troubled kid and they didn't want to have a troubled kid. That's my assumption, but they didn't do it. And so I was like, I didn't think of it consciously, but looking back, I know that's when I started learning it. And as my sophomore year went on, I started losing friends and getting different ones. My junior year comes, I quit basketball as well. So now I'm only playing baseball. I'm not working. Dad's by this time kind of given up on a lot of it because they know what I'm doing. It's obvious. I'm out all the time. I'm not at home. Weekends, and you can just see by the way I come home, the way I look, you get it. And junior year, it really starts picking up. I'm really finding in this partying, drinking, drugs, things like that, an escape. I don't have to run because I don't feel it. So by my senior year, I missed roughly 60 days of school, or excused. I got pardoned for most of it. And my baseball coach did not want me on the team from all the trouble and all the nonsense that I was doing. So I didn't play even baseball my whole senior year. And a lot of different things happened that year. For me, luckily, I didn't like needles. I didn't like cocaine or any of the really hard chemical drugs that people OD on and stuff. That's why I'm saying I'm lucky that I didn't like that stuff. I liked more of the stuff that made me just sit and mellow and not talk a whole lot and just be. So by no means am I lucky that I did all of this. I am grateful for the protectors inside of me that kept me going when I couldn't deal with all of everything that was going on inside. That's another conversation. To be thankful for that part of your life and to be thankful for that protector is a very hard thing to be, because that person at that time caused a lot of problems to a lot of people that he still owes amends for, that he regrets a hard word, but there's definitely things I don't like about myself that I did then. But I'm very grateful and thankful for that part of me that protected me enough to keep me going to get me to where I'm at now. And there's more of them, and we'll talk about them. So then my senior year ends. I get a walk across the stage, but I didn't get my diploma until later that summer. There was a lot of controversy, but they let me end up walking the stage. And then I left for a harvest crew to go cut wheat and barley and stuff like that, right? And combines and all that stuff from Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, all the way up to the Canadian border. In this trip, and I was still using it this time, drinking and smoking marijuana. And I had two very serious accidents. One, I was full of wheat in the back of the truck, and I went around a curve because we were pushing, we were behind, weather, all this, and I tipped. And I landed on the driver's side window. I don't know how long I skidded. They said it was roughly 50, 60 yards with my face on the window. All it would have took is a rock. And I was on a dirt road, gravel road. So one of many instances to express how grateful I am to be alive. Yeah. So get through harvest crew, get back home, and I've got some money in my pocket. Cory's working, so he's out of high school. They don't see that abusive side of him. And then I was back in life. And I was back in my hometown with the same people. So I was not guardrailed. And there I went again. So finally, worked at a place with my brother. They called. They called my brother. My brother called my mom. Said, "Hey, Cory's not at work." And mom was late for work because this was like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. I had her car, and I got home, and I was told, when I get home from work, I don't want you to be here. And that's the first time I've ever heard that. That's the first time I was held accountable by my mom, or my dad, but by my mom. And that's a big one for me. So, and I've always told everyone that I made the decision, and I didn't. And after talking to her several times, I do remember that conversation. Vaguely, but I remember it. So I called her roughly 8:30 at work. "Mom, I need you to come home." "I'm not coming home, Cory. I got work to do." "If you want to talk, you'll be there when I get home." "Yes, ma'am." And I was. And I told her I was done. I wanted to go to treatment. And so there I went. She drives me to St. John's in June 9th. This is always a funny story. June 9th, 1990. And every year after that, on my year anniversaries, she would, text me, other times, but text me on that day, "Hey, Craig, I'm so proud of you," all that, right? And every year I always have to remind her, "Mom, before we left the house, I might have smoke something. So June 9th is not my first day of sobriety. And we also stopped at a gas station on the way there. I told her I had to go to the bathroom. And so June 10th, 1990 was actually my sober birthday. So go to treatment. It's a lot. Sister Mary takes me under her wings. I've always been blessed to have great women find me and take care of me. It's just my sister, my mom, my grandma, Sister Mary, a couple girlfriends, or they were friends in high school that I wrote poetry for and things like that, just friends. But I've always had women in my life. Sister Mary is one of them. And on the last day of treatment, or close to the last day, you have a family circle. And there's like 3 or 4 people from the treatment, and you're all with each other's families, and you sit in the middle of this circle and you tell your story. Whatever you want to tell, you tell your story there. Well, I said something that day, which I also said the very first meeting on June 10th, because June 9th I was just in my room and kind of detoxing, but I went to the next morning. And my 2 family members that were there heard the story from 11 years old to that day. So at that moment, they were the only 2 people in the world that knew my story, what happened to me and what I've done to people. Since then, there's only been 1 more. But that's neither here nor there. So I get out of treatment. I had a hard time with my father during it because my father did not come visit me. He did not come see me at that. Again, he just didn't know how to deal with it. I can look back and give him grace now. I couldn't then. It was, Dad and I had a hard time then. We eventually got through it. We had a good life together. But I know he just didn't know how to deal with that. So I don't have to, but I choose to give him grace for that. And it's not that he didn't love me. So after treatment, I'm back at home, back in Hayes, hanging with the same guys for the most part. They're using, I'm not. They're drinking, I'm not. But I'm still in the life. In one form or the other. I might have been a street vendor for a while during that time. And eventually just got to a point to where I was like, okay, something inside of me again. Every time, guys, it's the weirdest thing that I am blessed with something inside of me that says, you need to go X, you need to do this. So I ended up moving to Kansas City with a friend who was already living there. And still, you know, I'm working, I'm going in and out of school, college. I'm playing baseball again, I'm not. And, you know, not being the best roommate, you know, not cleaning up, you know, eating stuff that they paid for that I didn't, just not a good roommate. And then I meet my wife of then, my ex-wife, and the mother of all my children. She had her past, I had mine. It was a mix. And we came together at a time that we both needed some stability in our lives. So we're in Kansas City. I'm working in the restaurant business. We have our first child. And, you know, everybody's happy. And Cory's starting to eat a whole lot. Cory's starting to get big. And, you know, still just not making good decisions with work, with, you know, with just life in general. Hey, let's get out of the restaurant business. That's the problem. Let's move back to home. Let's go move back to Hayes, Kansas, and we'll go to school. Okay. While we're here, the first time, there's a second time we move back. We go to school. We get through some Cisco training. We were in IT. We had our second child. And I'm tired of Hayes. We're doing okay. I'm just not doing I'm not doing well, and I'm in a place I don't want to be. I need to run. So here I go. Family, we're moving. I just got a job in Topeka. I don't care if school's done yet or not. We're moving. So we move. We live in Topeka for a year. I just don't like the place, but I don't know what it was. I want bigger and better. I want Kansas City again. So find a job at Sprint, get a good job at Sprint, get in there, start moving up, doing good. And I needed to run again. And at the end of Sprint, a big part of it was the layoffs of IT, right? When the IT industry just went to hell and everyone's getting laid off and stuff. Well, I fought as long as I could. We just had our third child at the time. I finally get laid off. And instead of fighting the fight and going forward, what does Cory do? Family, we're moving. I don't care who's happy and who's doing this. I'm not. We're moving. We move back to Hayes. We start our life there. I open up a business. Dad's proud. Dad's helping. Dad's in there every morning drinking coffee, doing all the stuff, doing the work, helping build out everything. Life's good. Cory's at his max weight. Cory's massive. And we made friends. We were going out. It looked from the outside that everything was great. If you lived in that house, you knew it wasn't. Eventually, finally got to a point to where I couldn't run in Hayes anymore. Hayes wasn't big enough to run. Again, I'm back in Hayes, where all this started, and I'm burning bridges in a town that's not big enough to burn bridges, which no town is big enough to burn bridges, but especially a small town. Hey, I don't care. We're happy. We have all these friends. We're doing soccer. We're doing this. We're moving. Found a job, Oklahoma City, with Dell. My sister's there. She helps out. And that's when everything caught up. All the years of anger, all the years of control, all the years of just anger, just bitterness, and not being a good husband or a good father. And, again, if you saw from the outside, you thought we were great, but it just wasn't. And it all caught up in Oklahoma City. And again, it's one of those moments in life where something inside me says, you've done enough. You need to get out. And not just Oklahoma City. You need to leave the family. You need to break this up. It's going to end up poorly. It's already poor. It's going to end up very poorly. So I decide to get a divorce. And so once I made the decision, I instantly run to the arms of someone else. That person ends up living in Tulsa. That person ends up being someone from Hayes-ish. They went to school in Hayes, and I knew in high school. So easy peasy. I know you, you know me. We're both recently divorced or getting divorced. And I need somebody. I can't be alone. So moved to Tulsa. Couple little kids that move with me. One ends up moving back, so one stays with me the whole time. The other one wants to finish out high school. They're already 16, 17, 16 at the time. So they wanted to stay. That's fine, right? Again, because we're in that war now. Who are you going to live with? I'm better here, that blah, 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 right? All that stuff. Look at the new life I'm starting. And so the things that Tulsa has given me, it's given me two great things. A job that I've been out for 15 years, moved up, done very well in, And I've never stayed at a job longer than maybe 5. Maybe. I don't know. And soccer. I learned how to coach soccer here. I was a coach before this, but I learned here. And I found a group of people that I could run with and hide with. Not to say they were running and hiding, but I could dive into soccer, coach, travel the United States, take teams all over the place. It gave me a lot of lessons during that as well. There was a point in time I started drinking again, and not in a negative way, and we'll get to that here shortly. And I was the life of the party. I probably made up for some lost time a little bit, going out to hotels and trips and things like this, and going from girlfriend to girlfriend to girlfriend, just running any way I can. But I got stable life with work and stable life with soccer. So those are keeping me a little bit grounded. Weight, going like this, never too big, getting big, but never too big, all that. And then 6 years ago, roughly, when I got Kirby, just before I got him, I made the decision to stop dating. This was just before the pandemic hit, which it just all fell so beautifully into place. I'm done dating. Dating's crazy. That's the problem, right? Everybody else, all the girls that I'm dating are the problem. Dating's a nightmare, blah, blah, blah. So stop dating, pandemic hits, got him. The one lives with me is in the latter years of high school. And isolation hits. So now I can be isolated. Now, that's the addiction. Even when the pandemic ends, I stay isolated. I go to work only when I have to, because I can work from home for my job. Only when I have to. I go to soccer and I come home. And when I go to soccer, I try to become a different person. But other than that, I don't go out. I don't do it like I'm a hermit almost. Because I got addicted to it. Because it was safe. And the people living in the house and the animal living at the house already knew my anger, already knew my controlling ways, and already had their ability to deal with it. And then I'm starting to get out a little bit more, starting to go do some things a little bit more. And then one day I'm just like, I hate this drinking. I don't like it. I don't feel good. Health-wise, I just don't feel good. Doesn't make me feel good. Don't like who I become when I drink. If I'm drinking too much. I didn't always, and that's the thing. And this is where I go to the way I learned what addiction is for me and what I believe it is in general. And I just said, I'm done. I ended up first I stopped drinking at the house, having a cocktail or two at night. Then I just stopped drinking altogether for the most part. And then in January of 2022, my dad dies. My last king is gone, officially. And I'm already kind of on a journey of, I don't like who I'm becoming. I don't like how I feel. I don't like, drinking to not feel. I don't like eating. Now I'm starting to really worry about my health. My dad just died. How did he die? I don't like it. I'm getting older. So in August 1st of 2022, I started a carnivore diet. Just dove in. And that's when it really turned. I did that, and throughout the first couple of years, I lost 100 pounds in the first 8 months. I got to be thinner than I was probably as a sophomore in high school. Like I lost a lot of weight. Anyhow, then throughout those 2 years, I just keep bouncing back and forth and I'm trying different things. I'm doing, some experimental stuff with my mental health and therapy and other forms of therapy, and not taking medication. I didn't want to get into that route. And because I kept asking, there's something more. There's got to be more to this. And then on my 54th birthday, right around there in 2024, I just said, I'm going to start journaling again. I'm going to start writing again. My poetry, I'm going to start writing again. I want to start doing this. And I'm going to start meditating. And it really kicked in January of 2025. And I started getting the answers to what I needed, to where I was going, and to what my purpose was. And throughout some different things that I did to learn about myself, I got a lot of answers. And a big one for me is how I define addiction. I don't believe addiction is a disease. I simply do not. Not the way that we talk about cancer, leukemia, things of that nature. Addiction is a mental health struggle. And it comes from trauma, pain, and fear, unmet emotional needs. And throughout the story that you've heard me tell, you've heard of all those different things rooted in my life somehow. Trauma, unemotional needs being met. But you don't catch addiction like a cold. You don't catch addiction like cancer. You get it from something going unanswered for way too long. And there's no shame or no judgment. It's just honesty. And if my story helps you to see yours more clearly, then that's why I'm here. Truly. And if the 12-step program helps you, bless you. Do it. Do it more. Whatever helps you get out of these addictions, do it. But you can't jump from one addiction to another. And I think you've heard the story of how I did. And you can't jump and run and say, okay, now that I'm thin, or now that I've gotten fit and I've lost all this weight and I stopped eating improperly, but now I'm angrier, or whatever it is. So whatever you need to get out of addiction, please do so. And I strongly recommend getting help. And at the end of the day, guys, it's your mental health that you need to get help with. Something inside of you needs adjusted. It's something that hasn't been dealt with, something that you've been running from. And it could be as simple as your parents just always telling you, hey, you're okay. Just get over it and move on. If you get told that over and over and over and over and over while you're a young child, I'm not saying that's me, I'm just giving an example. That's going to get to you in some way, shape, or form. That's going to affect you as a human being. All the way to, you can have some of the most serious traumas, right? And we hear about things that children go through like that, from abuse to neglect to all of it. It's all trauma, and it's all stuck inside until we deal with it. And you just don't need to judge it. You don't need to judge yourself. We're all in this together. But running from one addiction to another, to another, to another, to another, whether that's chasing partners, trying to find a new girlfriend, new boyfriend, new partner, whether that's going from this job to this job, or this city to that city. All those things can be addicting. Going to spiritual retreats and doing that over and over and over because you want that feeling you get when you get out. Because if you're not doing the proper work when you get out of a situation, that situation isn't fixing your issue. You have to fix your issue. So you can chase an emotion, you can chase a feeling, you can get addicted to that. Right? You can truly get addicted to almost anything that helps you run and not face your fears and not face what's ever inside of you. And that's dangerous. It's a long, hard life. And nobody can give you what you need. You know, someone was talking to me the other day and they said, you know, we were having this conversation. Well, you know, when you're young, you don't get the love that you need and the emotional support or whatever, you know, that's why you need somebody else in your life and you get that from them. And they're also talking about loving themselves and stuff, but no. You must get everything from yourself. Once you are able to do that, you can properly love others and you can accept love and appreciate it for what it truly is. It's just an abundance of their love. But if you're trying to get their love, if you're trying to get their whatever or this whatever from anything outside of right here in your own heart, it's just never going to work. You're going to run and chase the rest of your life. And some people run and chase the rest of their life until they're not on this earth anymore. I'm grateful that I've been awakened to that and that I have the time left to, one, live, truly live, enjoy life, find pleasure and joy in life, and help others along the way to hopefully help anybody, anywhere, find that for themselves. I can't find it for them. I can help them guide. I can give them examples of what I've learned and what I'm doing and all that and what people have taught me. I can't do it for you. Nobody can. Nothing and nobody can give you what you need but you. And that is a period at the end of that statement. And once you acknowledge that and once you fully come to terms with that, you'll understand that it doesn't mean I don't need somebody in my life or want or enjoy. I don't need that. I want it. I enjoy it. But I also want to give them and have them enjoy what I'm giving them in their lives. And I want it to be a good, healthy growth together. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But when that ends, yeah, I'm going to be sad. But I'm not going to walk away empty. I'm not going to walk away, eating ice cream for a month. I'm okay. I love myself enough. And that's where everyone needs to get and just understand that it all comes from within. Everything you need is right inside of you. Everything. Everything other than that is just extra. And the only extra you should want in your life is positive extra. You don't need people to bring drama. You don't need to take on other people's pain. You don't need to cure other people. You don't need to have other people help cure you while you cure them and all that back and forth and all that nonsense. Just take care of you. And your life will become the beautiful joy that you want it to become. And people will come into your life and you'll be amazed with what happens. But it all starts with you. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the face of addiction in my life right now? And just sit there and listen to it. It could be your phone, it could be food, it could be work, it could be approval, it could be a partner, it could be anger, it could be running from the truth. What is the face of addiction in my life right now? And listen. Don't judge it. Just notice. Awareness is the first step of freedom. Once you're aware, then you can learn. And once you learn, you can begin healing. but just listen and don't judge. Find that face of addiction that's in your life right now and work to get it out. And put all your focus and energy to it. Put the light inside of your heart into it. I know you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. We're all possible and capable of finding love for ourselves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to a story that literally took me a lifetime to understand. And if today brought you any insight, hope, or even a little courage, courage is a big one, folks. It takes courage to do this work. It's hard. It's very hard, but it's worth it. You're not alone. And we can walk this path together. I need your help. We all need somebody's help. We all need help. And we can become strong together to where we can give ourselves that help. I'm grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for the understanding that I'm getting. And I am grateful for every one of you. This is This Tree in Me. I'm Cory J. Riggs. I love you all. Be blessed.